Yeah, okay. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, I'm Amy Schaffner, and I'm going to talk to you about authentic performance assessments and their effect on 8th grade science students. This was my graduate research. And as you may know, in recent years, there's been a pretty strong movement away from standardized testing in the classroom. And New Hampshire is piloting a program called PACE, which stands for Performance Assessment of Competency Education, or Performance Assessment for Competency Education, depending on which literature you read. And this has been instituted in my school district, and I'm a science teacher, and we are administering a PACE assessment in 8th grade science instead of the NECAP, which we used to give to our students. So the nice thing about this is the assessment is embedded right into the curriculum, so it's not a standalone test. It's related to the curriculum, closely tied to it, and also given at the same time the students are learning the information. So my study examined the effect of these authentic performance assessments on the self-confidence and conceptual understanding of students in the class, and basically gauge their general attitude towards science as a whole before and after the performance assessments were administered. So performance assessments can range anywhere from essays or reference papers to a portfolio of work that shows progress towards mastery or mastery, to collaborating with another student or students to produce a final project. And these assessments are grounded in the real world. They have real world applications, so they ideally are teaching students skills that they can use once they move on to graduate education or out into their career. And the nice thing in science is that not only can their final product be assessed, but the whole process they go through. In science, we're looking at students following the scientific method or the engineering design process, and we can evaluate how well they are able to follow all steps of each of these methods. And also, they do not have a clear-cut right or wrong answer. There are many different routes to achieving mastery. So students who have strengths in different areas can achieve mastery based on what their particular strengths are. There's not just one clear-cut right answer. Competency education is a type of education that focuses on content mastery rather than seat time. We know that students can achieve mastery at their own pace. Some students, they see something one time, they've got it down pat. Other students need to see content in a number of different ways, depending on the type of learner they are, and competency education lends itself to that. Each course will have competency statements. It's a small number of enduring understandings that students should be able to understand and master and be able to explain to other people. So they are going to participate in activities and lessons that teach and reinforce these big ideas, but at a flexible pace. And if they have trouble achieving mastery, there's remediation towards competency mastery. So this makes this a really student-centered way of educating our youth today. So why use performance assessments? Well, they are built to measure student skills. They're customizable. You can create a performance assessment for any unit across the disciplines. English language arts uses performance assessments, math, science, obviously, social studies, art, you can use them, music, obviously, performances, right? Rubrics are used for these assessments to outline the targets for students so students know what they have to focus on achieving. And because of the rubrics, this should allow for objective scoring, which minimizes teacher-to-teacher variability. So you should be able to show a finished work to anybody, really. It doesn't even have to be a teacher, and they should be able to use that rubric to score that work, and it should be pretty well aligned with how anybody else would score the work. So it makes it a little more objective. These performance assessments, as I mentioned, are embedded in the curriculum. It's not a situation where we have to teach to the test, where we have to worry about what information we've missed so far this year. It's actually testing the students on what they are learning. And it eliminates a separate exam time. For the NECAP in the past, we had students pulled out of class for a day and a half. They missed all of their content areas for that time, and that doesn't happen any longer. Performance assessments happen within the confines of the classroom. Performance assessments in science just make sense. It's a logical fit. We already had multiple opportunities for hands-on learning and projects, so it made sense to use these projects and labs as assessments of student learning. The integration within the curriculum allows for a balance between learning and teaching and assessing. All three are happening simultaneously. When students are completing these performance assessments, they are learning. They are applying their skills and transferring their skills to novel situations, and they're also being taught by teachers who are guiding the process along. And they also obviously enhance 21st century skills, those soft skills, which are so crucial for these students going forward, including collaboration, communication, creative thinking, and problem solving. So the impacts on teaching and learning that we can see from using these in the classroom is, for one thing, when students were taking the NECAP, the results from those were being reported after the students had already left middle school. So those results weren't really used to inform our teaching of those students. This data is reported in real time. They're scored in a timely manner, and they are, we can use that information to see if students need remediation for any of the competencies. The data is used for summative assessment as well as to inform the future teaching. The rubrics that we use outline very clear expectations. They're bulleted. They list exactly the skills that the students need to demonstrate when they are performing these assessments. And the tasks, for the most part, are really engaging. They're really challenging. They add to the richness of the curriculum that we have here. And they're also helping students develop communication skills, mostly written communication skills, but also during the assessment, especially when they're collaborating, they have to be able to explain to their partners what they're doing, and it's helping with that oral communication as well. There are, however, some potential disadvantages of performance assessments, as with anything. The biggest disadvantage that I have seen is the extraordinary amount of time that is required in three separate areas. First of all, the task and rubric creation takes a lot of time. It's a collaborative project. There are many schools in New Hampshire working on these PACE assessments, so you have a lot of cooks with their hands in the stew. You also have task administration, which for these science projects has thus far been very time consuming. Probably two weeks or more of class time for each assessment, which we are working on minimizing. And the scoring of the final product, because there is the rubric and there is so much writing involved, it does take quite a bit of time to score each of the products, which we didn't really see with the NECAP because those were sent out for scoring. Another disadvantage is the increase in the amount of professional development and professional support. We need support from the top down, from administration and from district office, as well as the state. And then the monetary cost for training and materials. Right now, PACE is funded largely by grants, and hopefully that money will stay in place, but if it doesn't, there could be an issue. In science, we've also had to buy a lot of materials to kind of get everything up to speed with administering these PACE assessments. and we are integrating performance tasks in all 3 grades that follow the PACE guidelines so that students are ready when they reach 8th grade to complete these and complete them well. So I wanted to look at how these assessments are affecting my students, and that brings us to the method of my madness.